Hey, good morning. My signal is really out of control, or I should say, not in control, because it's not working very well. So let's see if we can have any kind of chat at all today. So I got one side of the couch is like so pretty, and the other side is like total chaos. It's kind of like the parts of ourselves. Some of them are lovely and organized, and the others are just in a jumble, piled up. Good morning. Yeah, split couch, split personality couch. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about human design today, mostly about the 9 centers and how those get used in Sovereign Storytellers, which I'm subtitling Creating Your Life with Human Design. That's open for enrollment right now. So I'm going to be talking about that class and the human design centers and why you need to know them to manifest things easier, because it's definitely working in my life. So, but if that's not interesting to you, you might want to give this week a miss and come back next week when I'm talking about something else. 2020 is going to be super tightly focused on human design and a little forest reiki and some live events. So let me share that with you in case you have been following me for a while. We are, Heather Westmoreland and I, good morning, have put together a live event. So it's live coaching, and she does mediumship, and I do intuitive channeling, and whatever happens, every group is going to be different. So we've taken what we do online and we've started delivering that live. So in 2020, we can come to your city and do a live event with you, um, if you're willing to organize it. So I can give you details on that. Right now, we're charging $120 per person for 4 hours of laughing and crying, which sounds terrible, doesn't it? Sounds like there's a cat digging into something. I know that surprises you. So anyway, let's talk about the human design. I found this, I don't know, some maybe 6 months ago. I've got my level 1 certification and I'm ready for level 2. I'm just waiting for the funds, the money to catch up with me so I can buy the test. So what I'm finding is all this time we've been looking for a how. Like so many of us have been saying, like, I'm doing all the things. If somebody would just tell me how to do it, I would do it. But the problem is we get told how to do it by people who are not us. If a person who does well with traditional marketing is telling us how to do that, and our human design is the exact opposite of that, which mine is, then the more I follow their instructions, the worse everything gets and got. Like, I nearly just had to give up on my business completely last year. I was so in the hole. Good morning, Heather Russell. Um, so when I found human design, I was like, oh my God, I've been following the instructions for a manifester, which is the only of the 5 types that do really well with that kind of marketing, with the, cold calling and, contacting people directly and getting out there and pushing in a good way, not in a bad way. Not everybody's like pushing in a bad way, and sales funnels and, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff works great for manifestors and some manifesting generators. But if you're a projector or a reflector or a generator, it backfires in your face A lot of people who are really struggling in their business are only struggling because they're following a design for marketing that's out of alignment with their human design. So 5 types. And if you're joining us late, I'm just going to be, oh, Tina said she's got anxiety in her stomach. Yeah, exactly, right? It's so like anti us. Tina, have you run a chart on yourself? Do you know what your type is? So there's 5 types: manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. Reflectors are the smallest part of the population, and generators and manifesting generators combined make up 70%. Projectors are like 20, must be like 30%. I forget. I don't know really how those percentages are calculated anyway, so let's not hang up on that detail. Tina, you can go to geneticmatrix.com, and they'll make you create an account, but you can run a free chart on yourself. Here, let me put it in the box here, geneticmatrix.com. It's different than personality testing. I like it so much better. I like it better than astrology. I like it better than anything. Yes, exactly. So geneticmatrix.com. Or you can go to mybodygraph.com. There's several. You can just Google free human design chart and you'll find a bunch. I like Genetic Matrix. It seems to be the most helpful to me. But so human design is a blend of astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and quantum physics, the quantum world. So there's 9 centers in it instead of 7. Late 1700s, the human energy system evolved, and the heart became 2, and the solar plexus became 2, which is so fascinating to me because I've been running Sovereign Storytellers now for 3 years, which is the group that I'll be mentioning. So again, if you don't want to hear about it, go listen to something else because that's what we're talking about today. We've been going through each of the 7 energy centers, so the 7 chakras. And this time we're going to be going through 9. And I'm actually going to stop using the 7 system because all this time people have periodically said they feel like there's 2 things in the heart chakra. When we're doing heart chakra work, people will say, is it this one or that one? And we have stuff out there that says there's 2. There's the high heart, which is sometimes pink or turquoise, and then the heart, which is green. And in human design, the colors don't come into it really. But people have already been feeling 2. And I find that just so fascinating that then I find out now there is 2. And these are just the main ones. Of course, that our energy system has, over 100 little energy points in it, in our energy meridians. So we're just talking about the main ones. So of those 5 types are what we've been told to market, how we've been told to market and do sales only works for manifestors. They're the only ones that can have an idea and run with it. And that's how they're meant to do. They get told and criticized for not finishing their projects. They get in trouble because they start things and then dump it, and they might start 10 different things in 1 week, and they get criticized for that, and they've been made wrong for that. But that's what they're supposed to do. That is their role in the sea of humanity, is to bring in the ideas and make them manifest enough that a generator or a manifesting generator can grab them and develop them and finish them. The generator will finish it. The manifesting generator will go off and do something else too, but they'll stick with it long enough. And then projectors are meant to be guiding that process. So we're not supposed to be asking other people to come and work with us in the way that we've been taught. It doesn't mean that you sit back and don't ever ask anyone to work with you, but you do it in a different way. And then reflectors are like the canary in the coal mine for us. They reflect the Tina, I would wonder if you're a projector or were raised by a projector. So when we're talking about these types, remember it's like your ideal. It might not be how you're showing up in the world because you've been made wrong for who you are, and you don't know how to be who you are in alignment with your design. So that's a lot of the process, and that's exactly what we do. What we're doing in Sovereign Storytellers, we're learning to create our life through understanding how we individually, very individualized. This isn't a blanket, I'm a manifester, so blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're a manifester, and you have a very complex design that adds nuances to that, and it changes things. So you can fine tune exactly how you approach life, exactly how you get through life. On every chart, you'll see profile lines. Those are so accurate. Your personality, how you learn, the lens with which you see the world. Mine's a 3-5. There's little numbers that will be on your chart, and we'll be talking about that in Sovereign Storytellers. We're going to be going way deeper and actually showing you the roadmap for how you even decide what to eat, how to spend your money, get in touch with your body and ask your body what it wants to experience. Because a human design, the function of the body is to drive the car. Ra Uruhu, the guy who brought this through, said this is the body's journey because the body is physical. The body is temporary. It only lasts for, over 100 years if we're lucky, if we have good genetics. That's my plan. Um, and then it dies, and the energy of it goes back to the earth. But our soul goes on forever. So our body is the one that's supposed to be in charge here. And because we've discounted our body, because we've been trained away from our body, we are struggling to manifest, even some of us, even basic, financial flow. Mine has started changing so fast the more I've understood that my body is the one supposed to be the leader here, and my mind is supposed to be the passenger. In the head center, you can think of the head center, the crown chakra, as a funnel, and it receives all the information. And whether it's open or closed determines what happens to that information. But it's really just a big satellite dish on the top of your head. It's not meant to it's not meant, you're not meant to receive all that information and then make decisions about it from your head. You're meant to receive all that information and sit and wait and process it and feel it in the body, and then follow your authority and strategy and authority for making decisions on what to do, if anything, with all the information you just received. So I've gone off track so many times because I've received full downloads of courses and immediately offered them and put a lot of time and energy into them, and they tanked, or 2 or 3 people would sign up, which I'm grateful for those 2 or 3 people. But you know what I mean? Like, they never went anywhere. Whereas if I had waited, I would have come, as I've come to learn now, that my mind is receiving information and courses and ideas all the time. But they're not for me to act on all of them. I'm just a satellite dish up there. So each type of the 5 types has a strategy and an authority. The strategy is what to do with the world. Manifestors receive and are to act on information, so their only strategy is to let everybody know what they're doing, not ask for permission or input, but to tell everyone what they're doing so that life is easier when people know what you're doing before you do it. And that's like their life challenge. They don't want to slow down long enough to inform anybody who would be impacted by their decisions. Um, a generator is supposed to wait. A manifesting generator is supposed to wait and inform. A projector is supposed to wait to be invited to share information. Excuse me. And then a reflector strategy is to wait 28 days. They're the moon babies. They follow the moon cycle. So they have to wait even longer than a projector. So for projectors, the strategy is it's like you're on an island and you decorate your island and you have fun on your island and you party with yourself. And then when people say, hey, what are you doing? That's your invitation to share. And you can let people see what you're doing. You can bring them into your world. You can invite them into your world through sharing, which is why live streaming and images and audio and things like that work really well for projectors, and it's increasing my business a lot because I'm just now opening a window like, here's what I'm doing in here. Here's what I'm doing on my island. If you want to play, you're going to have to ask me about it. So it doesn't mean that you have to ask for, it doesn't mean that you never ask for a sale, but you let people, you notice that they're following you, that they've, left some comments or whatever. And then you can say, if, I am doing this thing, I invite you to check out the website, and then you just drop it. So it's an energetic, like, oh yeah, if you want to know more, which is opposite of, hey, here's the thing I'm doing. Join now. Come get with us. We're doing this. We're doing that. That's way different. It's like very soft and very feminine, and it really works. It's working. And you guys who have followed me for a long time know that I try everything all the time. And I've hit roadblock after roadblock, and I've really struggled, and I've been, real open about that. And I'm not struggling in those ways anymore. My struggle now is to have, make myself have fun. Instead, a projector's main goal is to entertain themselves and have as much fun as possible, because they, especially, and reflectors too, their aura is their advertising. So for everyone, your aura is your advertising. And your aura is filled with what? Your emotions, your stories, your thoughts, your feelings, your things that you're doing. So if you're carrying the energy of poverty in your aura, if you don't understand how to follow a strategy and then match it up with your authority, which I'll tell you about next, you're repelling people and you don't even know it. And the only thing that you have to do to unwind that, human design calls it deconditioning, because we've been conditioned to think and feel and or to think certain thoughts and tell ourselves certain stories, which then create the feelings, which then create the problems later for us. We've been trained and conditioned into that. So we decondition, which is what we've all talked about forever as the stories that we tell ourselves. So you have that strategy that we just talked about, and then you match it up with the authority, and the authority is in the body. And you don't make a decision whether it's making a Facebook post or hiring a marketing team or bringing a course to the world. What are you doing back there, Betty? You don't do it until you match it up with your authority. Your body is the authority. So you can have different areas of authority. I won't go into total detail about it. But for me, my authority, my body function is to talk and to hear with my ears the sound of my voice. And if I'm not in a place where I can talk, I can write it out. But talking is better because the act of hearing the sound of my voice creates insight. And this is happening as I've been using it in this way. I have a couple of people where I can just talk and they won't try to tell me what to do. I just need a sounding board. So you'll see that sometimes in a chart that the authority will say sounding board or environment. So I have to physically go to where I want to be. So if I was going to move, um, I would go where I'm thinking about moving and hang out there, maybe even spend a day or two there so that my body could receive the energy of that place because my mind can't. And I've done this too. You go online, you read all about a city, it makes sense, it's got the amenities you want, and then you go and it feels terrible to your body and nothing works. I'm talking to you, Kingman, Arizona. As soon as I got there physically, I was like, I've made a terrible mistake. I stayed 4 months and went right back to Fort Collins. It was a mess. It was a mess financially. Um, it was very inconvenient for lots of people, and including me and my dogs. And it just was, it wasn't great. I met some really cool people, but that's about it. Um, okay, so another authority which I seem to have a lot of clients with is the emotional solar plexus. The emotional solar plexus people get an idea, sit with it, think about it, and then they get emotional about it. And they have to wait for those emotions to subside. So a lot of times we get an idea, or we're exposed to someone who has a lot of enthusiasm. Will, depending on the configuration of your centers, of these 9 centers, you may be absorbing their enthusiasm and actually amplifying it in your system so that it feels like it's your enthusiasm. And it feels strongly like it's your enthusiasm, which a lot of us have misinterpreted as our intuition because your body is like, oh, this is cool. This feels good. But it's not yours, it's theirs. So then we jump into stuff. I don't have emotional solar plexus, but I have a open solar plexus. So I absorb emotions and make them bigger. So I have signed up for multiple things. I've agreed to numerous projects. Um, People have assumed that my silence is agreement, and I have not recognized what was happening and ended up on projects, and I wasn't even really sure how I got there. So these things really refine how you're supposed to do stuff. So if you have that emotional solar plexus and when you run your chart, if it says authority emotional, your initial enthusiasm has to be ignored. Um, and then your down has to be ignored. As far as making decisions, you don't make a decision until you come back to a neutral emotional state. So all people with this emotional solar plexus have these waves, depending on their configuration, can even look a little bipolar, because they have the obvious highs and then they have obvious lows and then they go to neutral, back to high. It's waves. It goes in a wave, and you can't make decisions if you're in the up or the down of that wave. That's where we get screwed up. I can't make decisions without talking it over with someone long enough that I can get a feeling in my body of if it's right for me or not. One of the biggest decisions I made that changed the entire course of my life, I wasn't able to talk to anyone about. And I can look back now and see where, had I had a few people to talk to about it, I wouldn't have made that decision probably. No regrets. And also, I wish I'd had this information a little bit sooner. Okay, so the 9 centers are just like the chakras, only adding the 2. So you have the head, the ajna, third eye, the throat, the G center, which is your identity center. It stands for geometry, G for geometry. Um, it's where you ask, who am I? It's where you form your identity. If that center on your chart is open or undefined, it you are meant to have multiple identities. So people will say, why are you into this with that group or into that with the other group, and they'll accuse you of being fickle or fake, when in reality you have a sponge of an identity center and you can mesh with and chameleon yourself energetically with whoever you're with. So it's not a falseness, it's actually a beautiful function that you get to experience an enormous range of identities in this life. You don't have an identity that's formed and pretty well fixed. If you have a defined G center, you'll have some deconditioning to do, because the identity that is fixed might not be your own, might not be the one you want to have. But for an open center, you can be just as comfortable and fit right in with a group of bikers as you could with a group of lawyers. Frankly, I'd rather be with the bikers. Sorry if you're an attorney, but I don't fit real well with that crowd for long. Okay, so the G center, and then the heart, which is also called the ego or the will center. It's where we have the energy, or find the energy, the permission to do things, to make a decision and go with it. And then the spleen, and the spleen holds the fears of humanity. So there's all these gates. If you look at your chart, there's 7 gates. You'll see these little numbers, and those numbers relate to the hexagrams in the I Ching. So there's 64 of them. So if you're familiar with the I Ching, each of those little numbers, it correlates to that hexagram, so you can get a sense of what that is. If that gate is active in your chart, you'll see a little color around it, or it'll have a little circle around it, and then there will be a color in the line coming off of it. Let me show you just real quick. So these are the centers, and they're connected to other centers through these channels, and these little numbers are those I Ching hexagrams. So if your number is got a circle or a color on it, and you see some color coming all the way or halfway through this channel to the other gate, it's active. So it might only go halfway because it doesn't connect to the other gate. If the other end of that channel is not active, then that color only goes halfway. Does that make sense to you? So that's how you know. Okay, the spleen is where we carry our fears. I happen to have the gate 44 active, which is the gate of the past and the gate of smell. And I have a crazy sense of smell. And then when I smell things, it opens up my intuition. Isn't that interesting? Like who knew? I've always known that smell impacts me really powerfully. And then I find out that this gate is active, and it has to do with the sense of smell, smelling. What's that other word for that? But my intuition is strongly connected to smell. Also, it's connected to the past. So I love history, and I always love studying history. And it's the underlying fear of repeating the mistakes of the past. And in my own life, it looks like I don't learn well. I repeat mistakes. Olfactory. Thank you. It's like, I know there's a fancier word for that. So I will sometimes bog down because I'm afraid I'm going to repeat a mistake from the past. I look at the humanity as a whole, and I can see where we're repeating mistakes from our past. It's the things that you are interested in. What I'm finding is almost 100% correlated with what's active in your chart. It's amazing. I know I'm crazy about it. Yeah, so if you don't have that gate active, but you were raised by someone who did have that gate active, and especially if you have an open spleen, then you'll have that characteristic. But in the process of learning and deep diving into your chart, you might find out that that's conditioning, that you learned that from someone in your environment. So again, these are ideal. These are without any stories, this is what your system should look like. So when people get their chart and they'll say, well, I'm a projector, but I do this, so it looks like a manifesting generator. I'm like, well, you probably had a parent or someone who heavily influenced you who was a manifesting generator, who taught you that this is the way the world is. which may never have worked, and for a projector can lead you to burnout, because we're taught that we're supposed to work and work and work, and projectors who work and work and work burn out or get sick. I am so curious to know what percentage of autoimmune disorders are projectors and reflectors. I would love somebody to do the research on that. Okay, so the spleen, and then the solar plexus, which is where you feel like your gut feelings up in your stomach. It says kidney, bladder, pancreas, emotions, and the process of awareness of the emotional wave. The sacral center is the same sacral center we've always worked with: fertility, sexual energy, creative energy, partnership, relationships. And then the root center, which is the same root center, the Kundalini center. But what's interesting about the root and the head in human design is they're both pressure centers. So we will feel an energetic sense of pressure, which doesn't mean we're supposed to do anything with it. If we feel a sense of pressure and a compulsion to do something, here's where we get the roadmap of how. You go sit with your authority about it. And if your body authority is like, no, that's someone else's, or it's not the right time, then you don't act on it. You just train yourself to feel that pressure and be comfortable with it, and just check it with your authority. So it's like every decision that you have to make, you have an internal center that you get to go ask. It's like your little oracle that lives inside of you. You don't do anything without checking with it first. And in the beginning, it can feel like I'm not getting any answers, or it can feel confusing, especially for manifestors and manifesting generators, because they're so fast and so agile with their thinking that they can think they're getting the information from their body, but they're actually still getting it from their mind. So it's a training process, which is super cool. And the other one, pressure center, is the head. So we can feel pressure to think and think and think and think and analyze and strategize and drive ourselves fucking insane. Again, we don't work with the idea. We don't take any action or do anything outside of ourselves until we have checked it out with our authority. So that's what we're going to be doing in Sovereign Storytellers. And this is the last time I'm doing this class. So I don't know what's happening in 2020. I'm taking everything except Forest Reiki and my basic human design stuff off the table. Because I want to focus on these live events, and I want to see what, I know I'm always going to teach some kind of group experience because there's so much more power in a group, but I don't know what that's going to be. So if you want this, then I know that sounds like scarcity marketing, but it's just true. It really is the last time you're going to be able to get it in this way. So in that class, we start at the root and we do an energetic activation of that, meaning that we go in there and we talk about the healthy energy that should be there. When we're looking at what should be there contrasted with what actually is there, then we can start to tease that apart, and we can hear the stories related that you learned from your family and peer group, primary caregivers, and all the things that we pick up stories from. And then I will guide you through how to change that for yourself. So I'm not doing it for you because I don't believe that I can clear energy for someone else, even if they give me permission to do so. I might be able to clear it for the moment, and I do think that's possible. But if that story that's living in an energy center doesn't change, then within a few hours or days, that pattern is going to be right back in there. So I think you can energy clear as like a Band-Aid or to get a break, but it's not going to stay cleared until you find out what's driving that behavior. Then we go to the sacral, and then now we're going to go to the spleen, the solar plexus. Then we're going to go to the heart center, the G center, the throat, the ajna, and the head. So I'm just putting those other two in there. So that's the process of how it works. Is we when we get on the phone together, we have a meditation of just getting there and getting present in our body. It's so interesting that my push for the last 3 years has been embodiment. And my word for the last 2 years has been embodied radiance, or my core desired feeling. So then after that, I'll talk to you about the center. I'll tell you what should be in a healthy root center, what that should look like and feel like. And then we do a deep guided meditation where you will imagine in energy space that you're in that center. And I'm going to guide you through some specific processes and who to look for in that center. I have a sample of a root chakra session. If you want it, leave a comment or come find me on Facebook and send me a message, facebook.com/MichelleWolf11, or you can send an email, info@thatmichellewolf.com. And I can send you the recording. It is posted on my Facebook page, but because I'm queen of the overposting, you might have to scroll down a while to see it. Because I post way too much stuff. I love me some Facebook. So, you can match up physical dysfunction with these centers. A lot of times people's autoimmune symptoms fade while they're in the process of working on this. So I'll give you an example. When Heather and I were holding our live event in St. Paul, Minnesota, one of the women has a fibromyalgia and was in a lot of pain. So much pain that she told us at the beginning, I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole thing. She stayed for 4 hours and was still there asking questions. And she was tired afterward, but her pain disappeared while we were in the energy. Because, I mean, as you can imagine, the energy of a group that's all focused on quantum field stuff is extremely powerful, and it opens doors in your energy system that you aren't even aware of often until later when you notice that your life is different. Now, I haven't touched base with her, so I don't know how long her pain-free status lasted. But again, it won't last unless you continue the work. You know, we can't do it for you. We can open a space and give you the opportunity, but we can't continue the work, and we can't do the story work, finding the beliefs that you have about the way that should be. We can't fix that for you. We can just show you the way. So with human design, I'm able to show people now a very specific and unique way for them. And that's what's just has me so like crazy obsessed with it, because it's like we don't have to follow mass market. It's the difference between like a can of Campbell's soup and a gourmet stew that's been crafted and made with love, and the ingredients are very specific to the person. It's not general information. This is why I love it more than like the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs and even astrology, because it's so nuanced, and it is kind of hard to understand in the beginning, but once you start grasping even some of the pieces and implement them, things change. They just change. So the other part of the system that we're going to be talking about in that class is called the magnetic monopole. A monopole is magnetic in one direction. It pulls things to you, and it's located in your identity center. So if you don't know who you are and what you truly want, your magnetism ability is very ineffective. I was going to say weak, but I really don't like that word. But it's not effective. You can be thinking about what you want, and it's not showing up in your world because you're thinking about it, and it's the body's desires that need to be paid attention to. So let me give you another example. So I've been working with Corey Michelle, and her website is Meet Corey. I'm just going to type it in here for you. MeetCoreyMichelle.com. So I had some coaching with her. I'm in her Art of Living Crazy Possible group. It's 4 months. I think it's 4 months. I had some coaching with her the other day and again last night, and made some connections that have really just blown me away. So I was asking her, how come I can create these multiple trips to Paris and I can't make my mortgage payment? My mommy has to help me. I can't, my business is not generating enough to cover my all of my living expenses. So I was like, what the fuck? And I can create, I created 2 trips to Paris last year, and I'm going again for my birthday. And that ticket happened in an amazingly magical way. And I sat right here. This is my office, the coffee table. I sat right here and pulled in over $700 in 7.5 hours from different places. I listed some things for sale that I had listed multiple times before and didn't sell, and they sold almost as soon as I got them up into the group. People bought foundations, human design foundation readings. You can read about that on my website. They joined my human design basics for business class, which is also on the website, thatmichellewolf.com/human design. At the bottom of the page is a human design basics for business class that actually starts July 16th. So you still have time for that. But I was like, how come I can bring in $700 like that? And my body felt electrified, but not in a giddy way, in a grounded, fully alive way. It was a very fascinating experience. But I can't bring in my house payment, which is about the same amount of money. Actually, I think the mortgage is just under $700. So she said it's because my body is the one that does the creating. And I haven't spent the time to make paying the mortgage as fun as generating a ticket to Paris, or finding an Airbnb in Paris that I can afford, or generating last minute money. Last time I went, I had just enough money for food. Like, I ran out of money at the last minute, like the week I was supposed to leave. And a beautiful group that I'm in with Dana Wilde, the Celebrity Club, her after group, or it's called the Celebrity Club, but her course is the Celebrity Formula. They pulled together and helped me get money. Money came at the last second. I had just enough money. It was incredible. So when the body's not the one driving the manifestation process, it's hard and it's sloggy and it doesn't work. So what I was experiencing is my body loves the energy in Paris, which the word for me for that energy is effervescence. So like champagne, that feeling of bubbliness. When I went for the first time with my daughter, I told her, I was like, it feels like we're sitting on top of a fountain here, because of this, just has this feeling of energy bubbling and coming up to the surface, and it's sparkling and magical. Not everybody has that experience in Paris. I have a friend who doesn't like Paris at all, but for me, I was like, can I live here now? But I can activate the memory of that. I can activate Parisian energy in my body, which makes it super happy. And then when I do, and then talk about things I'm considering, the insight comes faster and the manifestations are coming easier. And it's building a trust within myself that I've never had. I've never trusted the universe to take care of me. I've never trusted any of these processes to work for me because I couldn't make them work for me. I'm an instruction follower. And if I'm trying to learn something from somebody, I'll do it exactly as they tell me to do it and then some. And all I got was explosions or nothing. At best, I got nothing. At worst, I would blow up my life because I was pouring all this energy into a method that was opposite of what my system needed. I've burnt myself out clinically twice. So, do you guys have questions? I've just been monologuing for 44 minutes and 44 seconds. That's kind of cool. I okay, so the second experience I had with Corey last night is really just reframing the language on sovereign storytelling to make it more clear that this is a roadmap for how you create your life. We've struggled for, oh, my cat's coughing. I hate when he does that. We've been people who've taken sovereign storytellers have experienced that, but I haven't understood why. I've been like a channel for the process, but I haven't understood the mechanics of it, and now I do. So it's going to be more refined and um, more powerful. So I think that might be it. I just really wanted to go through those 9 centers and let you know why, if you are not connected to your body, why your manifesting things aren't working, and why they are backfiring on you. So your body wants to have experiences in this world. It's the body's life. So I need to generate income that covers everything. So I'm working with my body to bridge the gap of how do we bring that effervescent energy to the concept of the mortgage payment, which means I'm redecorating my house, which is what you see behind me. Fluffy blanket and pink pillows. I'm into pink and gray lately, pink and charcoal gray, all the shades of gray. Um, okay, so I'm going to shut up. I'm going to give you the biological components of the centers, and then I'm going to shut my mouth. Go get a free chart, and then go to the website if you want just the foundations reading with me, which is only your type, strategy, and authority. There's also a 9 centers reading that's separate. You have to take the first one, and then you can sign up again for the second, because it's no good. You can't do the 9 centers without understanding the first part. And then if you want to deep dive into it, click on the tab that says Sovereign Storytellers. I'm going to be rewriting that page today, but that's what we're doing. We're going through these centers, and we're going to come out the other side more powerful than we already are. Okay, so the head is the pineal gland. The ajna is the anterior and posterior pituitary gland, where we analyze and contemplate. The throat is the thyroid and parathyroid. It has to do with metabolism, manifestation, expression of your gifts. The energy comes through the body out the throat, which we know. We've known that for a long time. But now we know how to clear it up when it's not coming out the throat and manifesting like it should be. The G center is the liver, it's the self, it's the sense of direction. It's where that magnetic monopole is. It's like this center that when you get it in alignment, when you're in alignment with it, you literally spend your day entertaining yourself and having as much fun as possible and watching clients come and knock on your door. You aren't going out looking for them. And that is happening more and more every day for me. So the heart is the thymus, the stomach, the gallbladder, your will, your ability to commit and hold steady, love. No, the G center is the love. So the spleen is the lymphatic system, your immune system, intuition, the process of physical awareness in the present moment. If you have splenic authority, you know your body will let you know instantly when you have an idea or you're entering into a situation if it's right or wrong for you. But it only pulses one time, and if you miss it, you may have to try again. Solar plexus is kidney, bladder, pancreas, your emotions, the emotional wave, if your center is defined. The sacral is ovaries, testes, fertility, sexual energy, and the root is your adrenal glands, your kundalini energy, right at the center of your tailbone. Okay, that's a lot. So if you want to book a time to talk to me about Sovereign Storytellers, because it is 16 weeks and it's $1,800 for 16 weeks of very intense work and a Facebook group, and you get coaching. So after we do that meditation, we 1 or 2 people will get live coaching. If you want to work with me about it or talk to me about it, I'm putting a link here in the chat where you can book a session to talk about working with me. It's not a coaching session, it's just an information session. All right, that's all I got. Thank you for hanging out with me through that. Go run your free chart. You can learn all of this on your own. I've learned it mostly on my own. I've taken 2 classes, and those have been extremely helpful because there's the surface awareness that's easy to grasp, and then there's the deeper implications and how these pieces all work together. And that's what we're going to go over in the Sovereign Storytellers group. But it's simple and complex, just like humans are, right? We're simple and complex. So, all right, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week.